Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Doug and I, the famous Doug, we are going to do a topic that is very important, especially to real estate agents. It's called, and everybody will relate, Mastering Difficult Client Moments.
Let
We
me stop you. Let me stop you right there. Nobody has difficult people, right? You guys, no one has difficult people in your life. Say yes. I'm kidding.
It's
Keep
quiet.
keep
I
going. Keep going.
Yeah. So we're going to give some tips, tricks on that. Hopefully that will help you. Um, but it's about handling the moments when you're in trouble, or it all matters in how you handle it, and it sets yourself apart as a professional. We're focusing on staying compliant, neutral, and still highly valuable to our clients, meaning we don't have to have the answers to everything, but we can be great resources for our clients. Um, and listening more too. That's a very important thing. Sometimes talking a little too much gets ourselves in trouble.
Yep.
Um, so we're talking about staying neutral and about being helpful. Um, you're the source of subjective opinions, and you're the source of data, resources, and process guidance. So one of the questions that we come across quite often, and we're going to ask this of Doug. Hey, Doug, is this a good
Hey.
neighborhood?
Oh my gosh. We always talk about that, right? Is this a good neighborhood when you're dealing with, especially with buyers? They have lots of questions, right? And you want to be, I'm kind of emphasizing what you were just talking about, Cindy, with being highly valuable to clients, to being able to answer the questions, to not know all the answers, and that's okay, folks, not to know
Yeah,
everything, right? But so often we talk about neighborhoods. Why giving personal reasons for people to either say yes or no to a neighborhood. There's a guy that I always went to real estate school with, and he said, "Be careful, don't steer." Right? It's a good idea not to steer people to a certain neighborhood or things like that. So that really depends on what matters most to your clients. In Cindy, I've always said, ask a lot of questions.
yeah,
Ask a lot of questions so that most definitely people can kind of get an idea of where they want to be. You can add insight. You can add what you know about the neighborhood, but it can't be a personal opinion, right?
right. And I always tell people, you know what? Drive through the neighborhood morning, noon, and night. And that kind of, you
Yep.
know, alleviates more questions.
Well, and people will ask a lot of questions. Is it walkable? Is it quiet? The
Yeah.
proximity to their work.
All
We
right,
can
I'm
we can
skipping
certainly
ahead to
provide
you because
local
you're offer
data.
number 10, and I was on offer number 9, calling every person.
Tracy,
Oh, Tracy.
Tracy
So,
mute, Tracy mute if you get a chance. There she goes. There she goes. That was good.
Tracy.
She was there for us, right?
Yeah.
But days on the market, owner occupancy rates. I mean, all the things that people are looking to you um, for that advice. And again, you can be careful. Again, I always say to people, be careful not to offer your personal opinion to things.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like the question, Cindy, is this a good school district? Tell me what your response would be to the question, are the schools good?
Yeah. Well, and just like Doug said, you have to be careful. We've got our fair housing and you cannot steer. You
Yeah.
don't want to do that. And I think a good response, and of course you have to put it kind of in your own words, what you're comfortable with, but I'm not able to rate schools, but I can point you to the great resources so you can decide what's best for your family. Again, just like Doug was saying, we can point them to resources so they can do the research on them, for themselves. Like schools, and then you always offer multiple sources. So you're not directing their conclusion like, oh, I love this website, or, it's just like with inspectors, you give them a few options. I think another one is called Niche, Niche,
Yeah.
would be another good resource, but let them do the investigating, and they could go talk to neighbors in that. they just shouldn't, you just shouldn't talk to them about what school you think is the best option for them. Okay, Doug, another one. Crime rate. What is the crime rate, Doug?
Yeah, and I knew you'd ask me that question. I just had this yesterday with someone, and I was over in the Grand Rapids area, and we were looking at different school districts, and again, the question always comes up with reference to crime rate. Is it a safe neighborhood? Again, they're asking me questions that, again, this goes back to what you just said, Cindy. I can provide data, right? I can provide crime mapping. I can provide local police departments' websites, all of the things that can get people the necessary information they need. Again, I have to be super sensitive about giving Doug Hale's personal opinion, right? Because so often people are going to want you to weigh in on a certain
Yeah.
subject, and most definitely that's not where you want to be, right? So I always tell people I encourage you to review, draw your own conclusions based on the information that I provide for you. And so I don't know if I'm giving an answer or not giving an answer, but I'm hopefully providing good resources on where to get those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and I think it also, like I was saying, the more you have something to say, the more comfortable you are with it. You
Yeah.
know, how you're going to react instead of all of a sudden like, a deer in the headlights, like, oh
Yeah.
no, the
Yeah.
question came.
Well,
Um,
and Cindy, it's kind of like we always talk about outside resources. I mean, parents, friends, things you read on social media.
yeah.
How would you react to, I mean, here we go with parents, friends, social media things, a lot of the outside noises, right? How does Cindy react to something like that when asked that question? Is she there? Did she freeze up on me? I don't know. She might have froze up on me. Well, I know again, I've had this situation that I was dealing with yesterday, and it was the same people. We had parents that came along. How often do you have parents that come for the second visit, right? How often do you have outside influences with parents, friends, things you might read online, right? That's always the frustrating thing for me is I want to make sure that I kind of keep the emotions in place, keep people focused on the data.
I bet. I'm sorry.
Oh, hey, there you are.
What happened?
I don't know. Something happened on your end. You look good for a minute. You were
Oh,
really
I did? Oh, good.
You were
Well,
really quiet and still for a minute there. So
I
I
did
just
all that.
I did this, I did one of these. We were talking a little bit about outside influences,
Yeah.
parent, social media. I mean, how do you respond when someone said, "Hey, Cindy, I read this online. How would you respond to this?"
Yeah, well, I listen, and I guess it just depends on the situation. But you're always going to have the outside influences. And I, I've talked about this before. I don't like to be in a defensive position because then I feel like I'm defending myself throughout the whole transaction or with these people. I have a situation where I'm showing a buyer a home, and she has a couple friends that come with her.
Hmm.
And, when you walk in and as a real estate agent, you're like, oh my gosh, this is great. To myself, I'm saying that. But she's got a lot of opinions. They have
Yep.
a lot of opinions that they'll walk in and say, oh my gosh, the wall is chipped. And I'm thinking, well, let's look at the furnace. How the furnace.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, you be kind and just remember that they're always going to have outside voices.
Yeah.
Um, but and I always tell people, what, it's completely normal to have people that you trust come with you, and so that's when I kind of go in the position where I'm listening. You know,
Yeah.
they're talking among themselves. I try not to give my opinion. It's hard sometimes, but we all remember it's not about us, it's about them. And at the end of the day, the decision really is up to them. So I'll just say, let's come back. Let's reevaluate what goals are for you, and kind of get back on the subject again, and not towards the negativity of it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. Well, it keeps the focus, right? Keeps
Yeah,
the
it
focus.
does.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. There's a lot of wealth in that because there's so often where we get emotions involved and we're starting to make decisions based on things that we really I mean, we can't hang our hat on that.
Yeah,
That's not reality. So good call. Good
yeah,
call.
and we can't eliminate those voices, but we can help filter them. So I try to keep that in mind.
I like it.
Um, and then, so now we're going to shift a little bit and we're going to have Doug talk about multiple offers. We're in that market. We're getting multiple offers.
Yeah.
And remember, we want to treat each one kindly.
Yeah.
Doug,
Yeah, yeah,
what do you
sure we
think?
do. Sure we do, right? Well, it's always interesting when we talk about multiple offers. I want to see a raise of hands. How many people are dealing with multiple offers right now on things? I'm going to say me. Good, because again, this is a reality. This is our time where when we talk about multiple offers, we're talking about delivering the outcome. I had one this week that I had four offers on. And it was nice because, of course, I'm the listing agent. So I'm sitting down with my client, the seller. We're walking through all of the offers. Very, very important that after you're done placing those offers, putting them in the right order in terms of what your seller wants, um, delivering that outcome. And Cindy, we talk a little bit about when we say delivering the outcome. I'm kind of one of those guys that says I want to keep it with the same tone, same professionalism, same respect to all offers that have come in, and be very concise. Be very direct in terms of what happened. I mean, to position their offer where they were. Again, it's nice because I'm a guy that communicates with all people, right? So after I talk to the winning offer, the winning agent, I'm also having those calls with those other backup offers in case something were to change. But again, it's done with the utmost of professionalism, the utmost of respect. I'm kind of funny about that. And I'll say things like, congratulations, your client's offer's been accepted. We'll be sending it over shortly. Again, I want to begin that conversation with that winning agent right away, right?
Yeah.
Super, super important. The flip side to that, you asked me to kind of comment on the folks that I'll say the non-winning agents, right? I thank everybody for their offers. I just do. And I'll say thanks so much for taking the time, putting the energy into this. I really appreciate you guys, coming forward with an offer. I will say, unfortunately, the client the seller chose another offer. I'll say things like it met their overall needs, or without oversharing. I'll say it that way. Um, Unless I get a maybe and maybe think through this, unless I get permission from the seller to share a little bit more about the winning offer, I usually don't. And I don't know how you practice, Cindy, but I'm just kind of that guy that I'm all about clear communication, but I don't want to overshare. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. And again, you said something really important. It's really what your seller has authorized you to share.
Yeah.
If they haven't, um, you're really not acting in the best
Well, and we've
way of
seen
your
it.
client.
Yeah, we've seen it that people overshare, right? I
Yeah.
mean, literally, welcome to social media.
Yeah.
I've had people literally a listing agent put all the details of all the offers that they've
Oh
received
my gosh.
in social media,
Yeah.
right?
And then what if that offer falls through and
Thank
you're
you.
going back to the other? So you
Thank
always,
you.
I think if we always think about representing our client in the best way possible.
Yep. Yep.
Looking for the long-term outcome, not just trying to be, I mean, you have to be cordial, but again, you're representing your client.
Yep. Well, and it's about clear communication too, isn't it, Cindy?
Yeah, it is because, but I think the other important thing that you said too, Doug, is you communicate. You call
Yep.
them, even if they're not the winning offer.
Yep.
I think that helps build agent relationships because you're communicating and you can set yourself apart by
Yep.
being an agent that communicates.
Well,
Because there's nothing worse than you have clients waiting for a response on an offer and that agent is not communicating or responding. It's an awful feeling,
yeah.
trying to get information and then get it back to your clients. Uh,
I had an agent from in another company put it all over showing time. Well, accepted this offer. They had just a little blurb about what happened there. but so often people miss all that information, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
don't know. I just think a phone call or a text or something where
yeah,
you made the effort to do that because we all know we're in the buyer agent position a lot. It's work
yeah,
and
sure.
a lot of emotion there. So okay, Doug, now with multiple offers,
Hmm.
addendum language where it's transparent and we've got documentation. What is a good sample addendum language?
Jeez, oh, Pete, and you read them all. You read them all, right? Well, and I lean heavily sometimes on our great deal doctors, Dr. Don and Dr. Eric, for a lot of that appropriate language because
Yep,
again, we can tend to get wordy in an addendum, right? I've seen addendums that look like the Old Testament, small paragraph, and it lists everything. It's
right.
confusing. I'm kind of one of those guys. I'm pretty right to the point on the addendum. I'll say things like, for acknowledgement purposes, if we're talking about the sale price, I'll say sale price to be. So just basic language, again, getting right directly to the point. Um, Clarification, want to make sure everybody understands the language. And again, I do encourage you, group, um, to get a hold of one of the deal doctors, to get a hold of the people in broker support. Again,
Yeah.
we're going to help you craft the right language so, again, it doesn't get misconstrued for any reason. So,
Yeah, sometimes you don't have in most of the cases you don't have to rewrite all that stuff or try to figure it out.
yeah.
You know, Five Stars got in dot loop several clauses in that
They do.
that are a great guideline. And again, that's what broker support and deal doctors will help you.
Yep. Yep. Well, and use it. Use that language because again, it's there for a reason. It really I'm a guy that likes to get a little wordy in my addendum. And then I write it out and I'm thinking, well, if I'm the other agent and I'm reading what Doug just wrote, oh my word. I got to get this thing clarified before I go back to my client. So again, just concise, good communication, again, right to the point. Again, that's my recommendation, Cindy.
Yeah. Um, we're gonna take some questions in that also, but a few key takeaways from today is remember to stay neutral but helpful, provide resources, not opinions, communicate clearly and professionally, and that's with your clients and the other agents. And then protect yourself with consistent language, meaning if you're not sure of something, call broker support or deal doctors. We'll help you through it. And what do you think, Doug?
My gosh, that's a lot of information. Hopefully, you guys are all taking it in, right? Okay. Well, I mean, I want to say something, and I just want to make sure that we all, I mean, in sales, we tend to be those people that we feel like we need to provide all those answers, right? And I'm always one of those guys that says the best agents aren't the ones with all the answers, right? They're the ones that know how to guide clients to the right answers. And I'll say it safely too, because so often what happens, it's not a weakness not to know, Cindy.
Right.
And I'm the guy that says,
Exactly. Well said.
if I don't have that answer, folks,
Yeah.
let me get it for you, right?
Yeah.
So,
And I think people appreciate that, especially your clients.
well,
Uh,
it's
because
it's an honest answer. Yeah.
yeah, and real estate is never the same day. That's what I always say. Real estate is never the same day, and transactions are never the same transactions. So
Yeah.
it's a lot more pressure trying to think that you have to be the answer person when you have a lot of resources around you
Yeah.
that can help.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, that's it. I agree 100%. So hope that helped a little bit. Hope that was a little bit informative. Any questions? Melissa, she's got one.
Hey,
She,
Melissa.
Hey, I didn't really have a question. It's so great to get you all on the phone and hear from you. I always liken it to like we're out here in the ocean,
yeah,
sailing around.
yeah,
Um, But I think it would be great on this call. I mean, this call, you're wrapping, seems like you're wrapping up, but you have 30 plus people, our attention. It would be great to have a real example, and you shared some real examples today related to your topic, but
Yeah.
maybe do like a 4 minute drill, less than 5 minute drill on a real example because there's so many, right? All the time.
Yep.
And you all have thousands of them. And then those of us that are building our business, which I believe are most of the people that are on the call, would be great to share real examples and maybe our resolution, or maybe we're pending resolution of how to deal with that, or how to manage through that. That's
Yeah.
just a thought.
Do you have a specific situation, Melissa,
I
or
like it.
that
That's
you're
good.
thinking of, or?
Yes, I do. I probably have several. But back to your content, your comment about be careful what you say and don't give opinions and be very cautious. And for our broker team, you all know that that is a strategic conversation too, because your buyer has hired you in
Yep.
their thought to have opinions, right? My mom owned a market research company in Southfield for 30 years. And the tagline of the company was, Your opinion counts. And so I come from a very opinionated family. You know, we have dinner table conversation, and it's very judgmental. And I'd be like, well, the family company name was Crimmins Foreman, and the tagline was Your opinion counts. So you're going to get an opinion. But yet in this scenario, your opinion might count to you, but you have to be delicate to your buyer, right?
Well,
You have to
exactly.
tread
And
carefully with your
I have an
buyer.
opinionated family too. I think we probably all do, depending on the
Us
topic.
Michigan Midwest
you know,
people.
you know.
Mhm.
But I think really what your clients are hiring you for is guidance,
Mhm.
and where to find the answers and to guide them through the process because you don't buy a home every day. You just don't. You don't buy or sell a home every day.
Mhm.
And I think what happens is, you know, free advice really is never free. We know that. Um, but I think that they are really hiring you because you're going to help them through the process, the steps of either buying or selling a home. I don't necessarily think it's for opinions. I think it's more guidance because it's just like, and I've made this mistake, Melissa, and hopefully I don't do it again. But I've gone in a home and I'm thinking, even the look on my face is like, oh, look at this. It needs this. It needs that. It needs, here I was trying to be the person, and my client ended up buying that home, and it was a very uncomfortable thing for me because it was an ego check on my part because I need to let them form their own opinions because they know exactly what they're looking for in that. So I could have just stood there and they could have said, I love that wallpaper. And I could have said, oh, okay, you like
Ah,
wallpaper.
ah,
Here I'm saying it's disgusting. Get rid of it.
mhm.
It's ugly. And so
Right.
I kind of, we all get that feeling where you're checked in your spirit. I am when I make it, and I knew when I gave my opinion, I'm like, oh, Cindy, you did it again. But I really think that clients are more so hiring us for guidance and helping them through the process of getting from the beginning to the end with their home sale or home purchase.
Right.
Hope
Agreed.
that
You know,
helps.
we're not selling features and benefits. We're selling service
Yeah,
and
it's a big deal
guidance
for
and
them. Yeah.
consultancy. We're not legal. We're
Yeah.
not selling, these are all the features, these are all the benefits of those features. They can see that in the property, the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, things like that. But there's different types of opinions and different types of levels of opinions. And so I brought up the suggestion that you add, a 2 minute drill or a 3 minute drill on a real example that you can go through on your broker call. That's up to you guys, just a
Yeah.
thought. But I'll give you an opinion example and I'll try to be really quick. And that is that I have a property owner. The property is in the trust. The property is not on the market yet. It is, I would call it a pocket listing across any brokerage in Leelanau, whoever brings, or anywhere brings the buyer. Um, the trust family members are not communicating with each other. I have a relationship with one of the family members who happens to be the occupant in the property, and have been talking to them for 2 years as they prepare the property for sale. And they called me, texted me, and said, I'd like you to come to the property. I'd like you to see what I've done to the property to prepare it for sale. Go to the property, and they start going through treating it like a tour. And I know that she also shared with me that another family member had brought another realtor to the property earlier in the day. She didn't know who it was. She didn't know the outcome of that discussion, but she wanted my opinion about the conditions of the property. I mean, from you name all the conditions. And I listened and really had to refrain from giving opinions or guidance because I'm not representing her. I'm not in an agency relationship. I'm just a friend, and I'm still in the friend lane. But yet I know the property is going to be active soon. So I left that meeting and I went home, and one of my family members who's familiar with the situation said, did you just do free consulting? And I said, no, it's part of my job is to listen, assess the property, understand where we are, where the owner is in making a decision about what they're going to do, how they're going to list the property. So I didn't see it as free consulting, but I did recognize that I should refrain from giving opinion about anything or guidance at that point about conditions. Would you agree? Since I'm not under an agency relationship yet.
Cindy, how would you respond?
Well, I kind of had a similar situation, Melissa. They contacted me about possibly listing a home. Parents are in Arizona, and so are they, and wanted me to meet the aunt over at the property to take a look at it. And so I went over there. Of course, I'm not talking price. I haven't done a comparative market. Well, I did do one because I kind of want to know where I'm at.
Mhm.
But I did meet her over there. And I think there's a difference between what you're giving opinions on and being asked what your opinion is, as far as the subject. But I
Mhm.
went over there, I pull up, nice home, the yard. One of the eaves was off. It was putting water into the patio. Little things that would make a difference, especially curb appeal, things like that. I think that if you're going on and I call that kind of a potential listing appointment, I think that is more how you're going to it. That shows what you know, that you did the extra work on that as far as going to the property and giving advice like that. But you're not giving advice like, oh, the school system, that's a no-no. But this was, I was called to ask to do that. I got the listing.
And this is more property specific though, right, Cindy?
Exactly,
Yeah.
property specific.
Okay.
And, so now they have a list of items that will help them prepare. They're in Arizona.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm going to be listing it in May. But that's a consultation for listing a property. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think you have to clarify more what the situation is and what type of opinion. If somebody came up to you and said, "Hey, what do you think of the school system in this area?"
Yeah.
That's a different.
Yeah.
Mm.
And,
That's a
and
different
Right.
can I interrupt? I think that's exactly what the two of you are talking about right here. Yours is more property specific, Cindy.
Yep.
Melissa, when you were asked to come, you probably didn't know that one of the other trustees had another agent come and look at the property
I
before.
actually did
Oh, you
because
did?
she had
Okay.
told me, and
Okay.
it's fairly adjacent to my family's property. We have a
Okay.
routine with this family where we toot if we see somebody in the driveway, and
Yeah.
they know it's us and we know it's
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And this is on M22, so it's
Okay.
busy. And I saw this very nice vehicle and a woman getting out, and I tooted, and then I realized, oh, she told me there was a realtor coming with her
Okay.
family member today, and that's who
Well,
was there
and I
walking
get,
through.
and I guess I treat that no different than what you guys just were talking about, Cindy. I've gone to properties before, and I know the other agent was going to be there this morning. This was a
Yeah,
property tour. They were looking for that person's opinion, my opinion, and
Uh,
this was more property specific.
mhm,
It wasn't about school districts, crime rates, other things that we were talking about, the external stuff. It was more about, hey, I want to get this house ready to sell, and
absolutely.
who's going to help me kind of walk me through that piece. And so I
mhm,
think what you've just done, Melissa, is provide value for sure, to these folks that you've been, in the game with for the last couple years as they get ready to sell this home.
mhm,
So
mhm,
I'm going to encourage you to keep continuing to build value into that relationship
mhm.
and to things that you can continue to advise them. I'll use that word, with regard to the home's conditions, maybe before you get ready to sell, think about doing this, 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 and this
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yep.
So good job in that. I love
Yeah,
it.
'cause really, it's
Mhm,
a pre-listing appointment.
Yeah,
mhm.
You're meeting the people who will be making the decision, and like Doug said, showing value.
yep,
So
for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yes, right. And of course, as you guys know me, I can tend to get over my skis. And as I was going through the property, I could feel myself getting over my skis, like,
yeah,
oh, wow, like, uh,
yeah. Hey,
we happen to manage the rental next door. This will be the first and last year for that. And one of the things that I didn't want to give strong opinions about, even though the owner of this property had strong opinions about their neighbor, was about that rental. And she kept commenting, when the
yeah,
renters are there, it's a problem. They're all over the beach. They're up all night having bonfires. And I just had to zip it.
yeah,
And
or just say, "Oh, wow,
well,
okay,
I know that she knows that
fun
I manage the
neighborhood."
rental. So they weren't, yeah.
You have to
Anyway,
roll with it. Yeah,
layers to it, and also getting over your skis that's what our job is, right? Is to start thinking ahead of who is the buyer, who
yep,
will this suit, who is ready, willing, qualified to be in the position to have this great opportunity. Who is that?
yep.
So um and
Wow.
it's a balance when these are lifelong friends too.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
just continue to show value. That's my 2 cents for what it's
That's
worth.
right. Thank
absolutely.
you. I got to jump. Thank you very much.
All right, Cindy.
Well, you guys, I don't think we have any more questions. Thank you, Doug. Thank you. This was a
Heaven,
fun
yes.
session.
This is fun. I love it. I
And
love it.
so now we know how to master difficult client moments.
Well, hopefully we won't have very, very many difficult client situations because we're going to show value. We're
Absolutely.
going to have all, no, we're not going to have all the answers, but we're going to be able to provide them.
Yes.
Places
And we're all going to play nice in the sandbox.
Yes, please. Yes, please. I love it. I
Have
love
a
it.
wonderful day and enjoy the sunshine. It's out.
Absolutely. Great week, everybody.
Take
Have a great
care.
time.
You.
Thanks for your
Bye.
time today. This was fun.